A very warm good morning to all of you. Dear students, once again I would like to welcome all of you to a new session of the history class. Today we are going to begin with a new chapter from history, chapter number 10, the First World War, part 1. From the title itself, you may have got some idea about the topic which we are going to discuss today, or the main points which we are going to discuss today. Of course, it's about the First World War. Why was it known as the First World War? It's being known as the First World War. What's the reason behind it? There were a number of battles in the world in different periods of time and in different locations and different countries. But none of those wars were being known as First World War, or none of those wars were being known as World War, because it was in small scale and its results were less, because those wars never affected all the different countries of the world together, and its impact, its result were very small. It affected only a less number of countries. But a new war began in Europe in 1914. There was large-scale consequences, new methods of defense and destructions used, and involvement of the civilians. So why the war which began in 1914 in Europe is being known as the First World War? Because its consequences were very huge. New methods of defense and destructions were being seen in that war, and it was for the first time in the history that civilians got involved in the war. That's why the war which broke out in Europe in 1914 is being known as the First World War. Behind every action there must be a reason. Let's see what were the causes of the First World War. First of all, nationalism and imperialism. Second one, division of Europe. And third one, Sarajevo crisis. These are the three different reasons behind the First World War. Today we are going to discuss about the first cause, that is nationalism and imperialism. What do you mean by nationalism? Or how can you define nationalism? Nationalism refers to the sense of unity felt by the people who share a common history, language and culture. Or if we explain it further, a group of people who are living or sharing common territory and having the feeling of oneness, sense of unity, who share a common history, language and culture. Take the example of our country. We are living in a common territory or in a common geographical area within the border of our country, and we have a feeling of oneness. We have unity which we feel, especially during the day of our independence, our Republic Day. In such days we feel that unity, and we share common history. There are certain languages which are common among us, like Hindi. We have some certain common culture. So nationalism simply means the sense of unity felt by the people who share a common history, language and culture. But in 19th century, this feeling of unity started to change into extreme pride of superiority over other countries. Suppose if we speak about our country, the people of our country started to feel, or it is the unity or the feeling of unity turned into extreme pride. We started to feel like the people of India is something different from the people of the other countries. The people of India is superior to other country. That extreme level of that unity is being known as pride. and this pride, superiority over other countries, which led to aggressive nationalism in Europe. Aggressive means ready to take weapons against others, means using some kinds of violence to grab the power, to achieve the power. So the pride, this extreme pride, led to aggressive nationalism in Europe. For better understanding, let's define what is aggressive nationalism. Aggressive nationalism is a love for one's own country and hatred for other countries. So while we hear the word aggressive nationalism, we won't feel anything wrong with that. But actually, when we come to know its meaning, love for one's own country, of course it's something good. And the remaining part of this definition is the most dangerous thing. What is that? Hatred of other countries. So as an Indian, when I speak about aggressive nationalism, I'll feel that okay, of course it's something good for me. Why? Because I love my country. At the same time, I hate the other countries. What's wrong with that? There is nothing wrong with that, because it's coming from extreme nationalism. But there is one another fact. The people of other country also will be having the same feeling. What is that? They love their country and they hate my country. Their aggressive nationalism becomes something dangerous. So extreme pride led to the beginning of aggressive nationalism. And all the countries were worrying about their own interest. They were having only concerned about their own interest, and they were not having any worries about other nations. For example, when I speak about my country, I'll be worrying about the problems of my country, but I don't have any worries about other nations. It led to increased military power. So of course, when I start to concern about my country and when I hate the other country, of course I'll be focusing on increasing my military power or the military power of my country. I'll be ready to contribute anything for that. So when aggressive nationalism started to spread, it led to increased military power. When military power increased, it resulted in the beginning of imperialism. Just see the growth of the feeling of the people, the unity of the people. First, it started with nationalism, then it led to aggressive nationalism, and aggressive nationalism led to imperialism. Let's see what is imperialism. Imperialism is a powerful nation establish its control over another country either by political pressure, infiltration and annexation, or by outright wars. So in simple way we can look into our country. British people came to our country and they have set up their administrative structure in our country, and they established their power over our nation. So a powerful nation established its control over another country either by political pressure, infiltration and annexation, or by outright wars. So that's what is imperialism. Like British people came to India and they established their country here, their administration, their power. So we call British as an imperial power. Conquered country known as a colony. Suppose if British, again we will take the example of our country. British people conquered our country and India started to be known as a colony of the Britain. So all the conquered countries will be known as a colony. And those colonies will be governed and administrated by representatives or a puppet government. What was happening in India? British Crown appointed a group of people to govern and administrate our country. And that way British East India Company, they set up all the facilities here for better ruling. So that's what happening in the case of colonies. When a powerful country established their control over another country, exploited the resources of these colonies. So in the case of imperialism, India is the best example for understanding. British people, they really exploited our resources, and they have taken all the resources to their country. Kohinoor, the most precious diamond from our country, now it's with the Britain. It's not only about the diamonds I'm speaking about even the smallest resource, the raw materials for making clothes and all other different kinds of products which were being made out of the raw materials which they have exploited from our country. So these imperial governments or these powerful nations, they have exploited the resources from their colonies. Colonies provided raw materials, cheap labor, agricultural land and trading ports to the imperial nations. Don't think that the imperial government, they have exploited only our wealth, not only just wealth, raw materials, even labor, agricultural land. They have cultivated their products in our land and they forced our farmers to cultivate what they want. They means what the British people want. So all these were coming under the exploitation. By the end of the 19th century, England and France had built up a huge colonial empire in Asia and Africa. Even in the case of India, we know. So England and France were the countries who were having a huge number of colonies in different parts of Asia and Africa. British focused on maintaining and expanding trade. Actually, in the case of British administration, they have gone to different parts of the world in order to expand their trade. They came to India just for trade. For the business purpose, they came to India. And they understood that the land of India is very fertile for establishing their administration, for establishing their ruling system. So British focused on maintaining and expanding trade. Colonies like India, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Egypt, South Africa, Caribbean islands and many parts of Africa. These were different a number of colonies set up by Britain in different parts of the world. Britain used powerful and the world's largest navy. So in order to conquer by using outright wars, Britain used its most powerful weapon. What was that? The powerful and world's largest navy to fight against other countries. So now the rest of the European countries, they were seeing all the activities of this Britain, France and other countries. They understood that they also have to conquer other countries, establish colonies in order to improve or increase their wealth. So it led to a competition. England and France had huge colonies in Asia and Africa. Rest of the countries, they have seen it. Germany, Italy and Russia, they also wanted to have colonies in Asia and Africa. Why to have the colonies, or why they have to set up colonies? Because it was very essential for progress. Because they provide raw materials and markets for finished products. So if Germany, Italy and Russia, if they want to grow, if they want to progress, they have to set up colonies in different parts of the world, because from colonies they will get very raw materials for very cheap price, and the colony can be used as a market for their finished products. Like what was the British people doing in India? They have taken raw materials from our country to their land and they made the finished products and they sold it back in our country. From here onwards, the things started to change. It led to an international tension. Why? Aggressive nationalism and economic competition led to fear, mutual hatred among the countries. How it happened internationally? or how it led to an international tension. See, aggressive nationalism we have already seen. Love for one's own country, hate for the other nation. So, aggressive nationalism and economic competition, when number of countries started to set up their colonies in different parts of the world. Suppose, just imagine, Britain started to attack, or Britain declared a war against a country. Just take an example. Britain declared war on India, and France also declared war on India by seeing our wealth or our resources, and Russia also declared war on India. So by this time what happens? Three countries are attacking one nation together. So it led to fear, mutual hatred. So all the countries were in a race to make colonies in different parts of the Europe. So this is the first point, or the first reason behind the First World War. What was that? Do you remember? Yes, it was nationalism and imperialism. So nationalism, from there it led to aggressive nationalism, and from aggressive nationalism it led to the economic war, and from there it led to the imperialism. So we can see its progress. So finally it led, or it reached in an international economic competition, which led to the fear, mutual hatred among the countries. So dear students, I hope that all of you have got a very clear picture about what we have discussed today. And in the next class we will be discussing about the second point, that is division of Europe. So we will meet again in the next class with the next topic. Till then, I would like to sign off. Thank you.